So, in recognizing that we present our bodies to Him only through His mercies toward us, we also recognize that we are to show that same mercy to others. This includes both seeking and freely giving forgiveness, leading to reconciliation when an offense separates me from another believer, because I know that I am able to offer my body to God only because He has shown me mercy, reconciled us, and included me in all of us. I will have salt in myself and live at peace with the body. Now I reach an aspect of this salt as peace with each other, in which I have recently stumbled particularly badly. Salt, gracious words, and stumbling blocks. Colossians 4:5 and 6. Walk in wisdom toward those who are outside, redeeming the time. Let your speech always be with grace, seasoned with salt, that you may know how you ought to answer each one. Living wisely requires speaking wisely. The you in this passage is a plural you, applying to all of us together, but I will now apply it to myself. What I say must show grace and respond to the need of my hearers. And it also must be seasoned with salt, so that I may know how to respond to others' needs, which is something I obviously don't know how to do properly without adding salt to my speech. In this verse, the grace and the salt work together. Grace, goodwill, loving kindness, favor, sweetness is something God has shown me, and when I speak, I am to show the grace God has shown me to others. My words, all of them, with no exceptions, should be for their good, to build them up, not to manipulate them to get my way or to tear them down. But making this work requires that I have salt in myself, the salt of being at peace and leaving God free to seek peace through me. And in this I have recently stumbled badly. It is only by faith that is often very weak, that I can find even the faint hope that those I have damaged with my words will ever find forgiveness for me or be restored. This leads me into the last relevant portion of the context of Mark 9:50. Mark 9:42 through 44. Whoever will cause one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him if he were thrown into the sea with a millstone hung around his neck. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life maimed rather than having your two hands to go into Gehenna, into the unquenchable fire, where their worm doesn't die and the fire is not quenched. The context of Mark 9:49 through 50 immediately involves 1. Setting stumbling blocks or traps in front of other believers, these little ones who believe, and 2. Falling over them, the stumbling blocks, or being trapped by them myself. I have omitted verses 45 through 48, which merely add feet and eyes to the list of body parts I should prefer to have removed, rather than to be caused to stumble by them. The word here translated to cause to stumble is scandalizo, the word from which the English word scandalized comes. It has a small but somewhat complex cluster of meanings. Most simply, to put a stumbling block or impediment in the way upon which another may trip and fall, or to be a stumbling block, in the New Testament always used metaphorically. So it can mean to entice someone to sin, to cause a person to begin to distrust and to desert one whom he ought to trust and obey, like God, to cause to fall away, and if it's in the passive voice, to fall away, to be offended in one, to find an occasion of stumbling in someone else, to see in another what I disapprove of and what hinders me from acknowledging his authority, or to cause one to judge unfavorably or unjustly of another. The underlying meaning is to set an impediment, a stumbling block where someone can fall over it and be trapped, but it refers to setting any kind of a trap, and metaphorically to any kind of enticement to sin against God, to distrust someone they ought to trust, or to bring an unjust judgment against another. Recall that in the Garden of Eden, Genesis 3, verses 4 through 6, all human sin originated from the serpent's enticement to bring an unjust judgment against God. That is, God, was being stingy by denying humans the knowledge of evil, and to therefore distrust and disobey God. And it will be appreciated from this just how broad this word is. It covers all of the possible motivations for sin when placed by one person in another person's path. It also covers every possible offense one person may give another that may result in bitterness or a grudge. Verse 42 speaks to the person who has placed a trap, that another believer who has previously trusted God, one of these little ones who believe in me, will stumble, fall over, and become entrapped in sin, unbelief, or bitterness. Jesus said it would be better for that person to be tied by the neck to a heavy millstone and be drowned than to cause another believer to fall into that trap. Verses 43 through 48 then reverse the focus and speak of things over which I may stumble and become entrapped. The three examples given, a hand, a foot, and an eye, are clearly hyperbole. As Dallas Willard has pointed out, I use my body parts to sin, but they do not entice me or cause me to sin. Sin comes from my heart, not from my hand or my eye. I could cut off both of my hands and both of my feet and poke out both of my eyes and still spend all my time sitting in my wheelchair thinking bitter, proud, greedy, or lustful thoughts and wishing I could still do something to fulfill them. And I could still say words sitting in my wheelchair blind that tear other people down or entice them to sin. So Jesus really isn't telling me to cut off body parts. What he is telling me is that if I know of things in my heart that entice me to sin or cause me to place stumbling blocks in front of others, I must ruthlessly cut those things out of my life. It is better to lose those things than to go to hell. So verses 43 through 48, taken together, show the possible consequences and extreme seriousness of maintaining stumbling blocks in my own life and of placing them in others' lives. These things bring judgment if not corrected, and it is God who makes the correction possible, as is shown by the beginning of the next verse. For everyone will be salted with fire, and every sacrifice will be seasoned with salt. We return to this verse. Everyone will be salted, purified with fire, but not everyone will voluntarily make themselves a living sacrifice.